Summer Dark Night horror story. The power outage hit Millbrook at exactly 9:47 p.m. on the hottest night of the summer. One moment, the town was bathed in the golden glow of streetlights and porch lamps. The next, everything went dark. Not just dark, black. The kind of darkness that swallowed everything, leaving only the faint light of the full moon struggling through the humid air. Rachel Morgan was in her living room when it happened, watching television with her 15-year-old son, Tyler. The sudden plunge into darkness made them both jump. "Mom!" Tyler's voice came from across the room, edged with nervousness. "It's okay, honey. Just a power outage. Probably the heat overloading the grid." Rachel fumbled for her phone, using its light to navigate to the kitchen drawer, where they kept flashlights. This happens every summer. Except it didn't. Rachel had lived in Millbrook for 37 years, and while brownouts were common during heat waves, complete blackouts were rare. And this one felt different somehow. The darkness seemed heavier, more oppressive, pressing against the windows like something alive. Rachel handed Tyler a flashlight and kept one for herself. "Let's check on Mrs. Chun next door. She's elderly, and this heat without air conditioning could be dangerous." They stepped out onto the front porch, and Rachel immediately realized something was very wrong. The darkness was absolute. No lights anywhere. Not from neighboring houses. Not from cars. Not even the glow of the city reflected against the sky in the distance. It was as if Millbrook had been cut off from the world entirely. "Mom, look at the sky," Tyler whispered. Rachel looked up, and her breath caught. The stars were gone. The moon was still visible, but dimmed, as if seen through dirty glass. And the sky itself wasn't the normal black of night. It was darker, deeper, like looking into a void that went on forever. "That's not normal," Tyler said, stating the obvious. Rachel knocked on Mrs. Chen's door, her flashlight beam cutting weakly through the thick darkness. No answer. She tried the handle. Unlocked, which was unusual. Mrs. Chen was always careful about security. "Mrs. Chen, it's Rachel from next door. Are you okay?" They entered the house, their flashlight beams revealing nothing amiss. Everything looked normal, if eerily still. They checked each room, calling out, but found no one home. That was strange. Mrs. Chun rarely went out, especially not late at night. Back outside, Rachel noticed something that made her skin crawl. The neighborhood was silent. Completely silent. No dogs barking. No car alarms triggered by the power surge. No neighbors calling out to each other or starting generators. Just oppressive, unnatural silence. "Let's try the Hendersons," Rachel said, trying to keep her voice steady. But the Hendersons' house was also empty. Door unlocked, no one home. Tyler grabbed his mother's arm. "Mom, something's really wrong. Where's everyone?" Rachel wanted to reassure him, to tell him everything would be fine, but she couldn't, because he was right. Where was everyone? In a neighborhood with 47 houses. Someone should be outside. Someone should be investigating the blackout. They returned home, and Rachel tried her phone. No signal. She tried the landline, dead. She turned on her battery-powered radio, cycling through frequencies, but got only static. "We should stay inside," Rachel decided. "Lock all the doors and windows. This will pass." It has to. But as the minutes ticked by, the situation only grew stranger. The temperature inside the house began to drop, despite the sweltering heat outside. Rachel's breath became visible in the flashlight beam, and frost started forming on the inside of the windows. "Mom, I'm scared," Tyler said, and Rachel pulled him close, though she was just as frightened. That's when they heard it. Footsteps on the front porch. Slow, deliberate footsteps that stopped right at the door. Rachel and Tyler froze. Their flashlights pointed at the door. The footsteps resumed, moving along the porch past the living room window. Through the curtains, Rachel caught a glimpse of a shadow passing by. Tall, impossibly tall, with proportions that seemed wrong. "Don't look at it," Rachel whispered urgently, though she didn't know why she said it. Some instinct, some primal part of her brain, screamed that whatever was out there shouldn't be seen. The footsteps circled the house, slow and patient. Then they stopped at the back door. Rachel heard the doorknob rattle, testing if it was locked. Thank God she'd locked everything. A voice spoke from outside, not quite at the back door, but somehow all around the house, seeming to come from every direction at once. "Let me in. It's cold out here. Please let me in." The voice was wrong. It sounded human at first, but underneath was something else. Multiple voices speaking in unison, tones that didn't quite match, creating a discordant harmony that made Rachel's teeth ache. Tyler whimpered, and Rachel held him tighter. "Don't respond," she breathed. "Don't acknowledge it. I know you're in there." The voice continued, now taking on a mocking tone. "Rachel and Tyler Morgan, 1447 Maple Street. I've been watching. I've been waiting. The darkness is here now, and you invited it. Every time you wish for the heat to end, every time you long for the night to come, you invited me." Rachel's mind raced. She'd said those things. Everyone had, complaining about the brutal summer heat. But she hadn't meant anything by it, just normal complaints about the weather. "Open the door, Rachel. Let me show you what real darkness is." The house began to shake, not violently, but a steady vibration that made pictures fall from walls and dishes rattle in cabinets. The temperature kept dropping, now so cold that ice was forming on every surface. Rachel pulled Tyler toward the basement. "Come on, we're getting out of here." But when she opened the basement door, instead of stairs leading down, there was nothing, just blackness, the same absolute void she'd seen in the sky. Rachel stumbled backward, slamming the door shut. Every door in the house was the same: bedroom doors, closet doors, even the bathroom. Opening them revealed not rooms but darkness, infinite and hungry. They were trapped, surrounded by voids where their home should be, with something circling outside that wanted in. "What do we do?" Tyler asked, his voice breaking. Rachel forced herself to think. This thing, whatever it was, couldn't get in without being invited. That was a rule in folklore, wasn't it? Vampires, demons. They needed permission to enter a dwelling. Maybe that applied here. "We don't let it in," Rachel said firmly. "No matter what it says, no matter what it promises or threatens, we don't invite it inside." The voice outside changed, becoming softer, more pleading. "Rachel, please. I'm your mother. Don't you remember me? I'm lost in the dark. I need your help." Rachel's mother had died 3 years ago. Hearing her voice, hearing that distinctive slight accent, the way she said Rachel with emphasis on the second syllable, it was perfect, exact. "It's not her," Rachel said, as much to herself as to Tyler. "It's not her. Rachel, baby, it's so cold. Just let me in for a moment. Let me get warm." Tyler looked at his mother, with tears streaming down his face. "Grandma?" "It's not Grandma," Rachel said firmly. "Grandma wouldn't be outside. She wouldn't need to be let in. That thing is lying." The voice changed again, now taking on Tyler's voice. "Mom, I'm scared. Let me in. Please let me in." But Tyler was right beside her, his mouth closed, his eyes wide with horror, as they both heard his voice coming from outside. Not working. The voice dropped its pretense, returning to that discordant, multi-layered tone. "Fine. I'll just wait. The darkness is eternal. I have time. But you don't. Your air is running out. Your warmth is fading. Eventually, you'll have to choose. Open a door to me, or open a door to the void. Either way, you're mine." Rachel looked around desperately. The thing was right. The house was getting colder, the air thinner, and every door led to that hungry darkness. They couldn't stay here, but they couldn't leave. Then Rachel remembered something her grandmother had told her, stories from the old country about creatures that walked in darkness. Light, she said suddenly. We need light. Real light, not flashlights. She ran to the kitchen, Tyler following. In the drawer, she found what she was looking for. Candles, lots of them, left over from various birthday celebrations and power outages. Help me light these. Every candle we have, in every room. They lit candles frantically, placing them throughout the house. As each flame flickered to life, Rachel felt something shift. The temperature stopped dropping. The oppressive weight of the darkness eased slightly. When they lit the last candle, Rachel opened the curtains, letting the candlelight shine out into the darkness. The voice outside screamed, a sound of pure rage and frustration that shook the walls. No, you can't. The darkness is mine. This night is mine. This house is mine, Rachel shouted back, finding courage she didn't know she had. And I don't invite you in. I don't acknowledge you. I don't give you permission to exist in my space. Get out. The shaking intensified, and for a moment, Rachel thought the house would collapse. But then, suddenly, it stopped. The silence that followed was different, not oppressive, but peaceful, natural. Slowly, Rachel approached the front door and peered through the peephole. Outside, the darkness was receding. Street lights were flickering back to life. She could see stars appearing in the sky, the moon brightening. She opened the door cautiously, and normal summer night air rushed in, warm, humid, smelling of grass and asphalt. The neighborhood was coming back to life. Lights turning on in houses, voices calling out, asking each other if everyone was okay. Mrs. Chen appeared on her porch, looking confused. Did we have a blackout? I must have fallen asleep. I don't remember anything after dinner. The Hendersons were the same, and everyone else Rachel talked to. No one remembered anything strange. For them, it had just been a brief power outage, maybe 20 minutes at most. But Rachel's watch showed 3 hours had passed. 3 hours that felt like an eternity. 3 hours that everyone else had somehow slept through. Rachel and Tyler went back inside, neither speaking, both understanding that something had happened that couldn't be easily explained. The candles were still burning, now seeming unnecessary in the restored electric light. But Rachel didn't blow them out. Not yet. Mom, what was that? Tyler finally asked. Rachel sat beside him on the couch, putting her arm around his shoulders. I don't know, honey. Something old. Something that lives in darkness and feeds on fear. But we didn't let it in. We didn't give it power. Will it come back? Rachel looked at the candles, thinking about the thing's rage when they'd been lit. How the light had weakened it. Maybe, but now we know how to fight it. Light and not giving in to fear. Not inviting the darkness inside. That night, Rachel left every light in the house on, and she kept candles ready by every door and window. She didn't know if it would be enough if the thing returned, but it was something. In the weeks that followed, she researched similar incidents. Towns experiencing impossible darkness, creatures that walked in blackouts, entities that needed invitation to cross thresholds. She found more stories than she expected, dating back centuries, all describing similar encounters. The summer continued its heat, and people still complained about it, still wished for cooler weather. But Rachel never did. She'd seen what lurked in the darkness, what waited for people to invite it in, and on particularly dark nights, when the moon was hidden and the stars seemed dim, Rachel would light every candle in the house and keep watch. Because some darkness wasn't just the absence of light. Sometimes darkness was something that had teeth,